Okay. Now we're ready to go. Okay, so on behalf of myself and Brad Kane, again, we'd like to welcome you to the Senior College Planning Night, and we'll run through this real quick. And like I said, we'll have questions towards the end, but if you have questions, feel free to type those in the chat and we'll go from there. So just to get started, here's a list of the counseling staff. Hopefully by now your son or daughter knows who their counselor is, but just in case, there's a list of who the counselors are, and that goes by last name Alpha. So that's how that breaks down. And as Brad had mentioned earlier, we split the caseload pretty much right down the half. So Mr. Kane has the first half. So if your last name falls between A and K, then Mr. Kane has you. And if your last name falls L through Z, then I will have you as the college counselor. So just a little background, I guess, on us. I'll start. I started off in college admissions. I was in college admissions for 6 years and then moved over to the high school side and was a school counselor for 7 years before moving over to HF to be the college counselor. And then I have been at HF now. This is my 10th year. So time flies when you're having fun.
And again, my name is Brad Kane, and I've actually been at HF. This is my 19th year. And before coming to HF, I spent a few years on the college side. I worked at a university just like Kevin did. We actually stood next to each other many of evenings back in the late 90s into the early 2000s, recruiting students for the university. I moved to Homewood Flossmoor High School shortly after that. My first 10 years was served as a guidance counselor there, and the last 9 as one of the 2 college counselors with Kevin. So just a little background of where I come from and some of the experiences that I've seen in the last 20 years or so here.
Okay, so let's move on from there. Okay, so what I want to do is we want to talk about first off, just so you all know, the counseling staff was actually out to your students' Viking Compass class on this actually just yesterday, and they were instructed to sign up for their Parchment account. And what Parchment is Parchment is the online website where you'll request transcripts. So your son or daughter, they have registered, hopefully by now, registered for a Parchment account, and we went into those those Viking Compass classes, and we talked to them on how to request a transcript. So with that, we're going to move then on Friday, we're going to go back to those Viking Compass, and they've been instructed to sign up or create a Naviance account. So what Naviance is, for those of you who may not know, Naviance is our online college search, pretty much is what we use it for. There's also a career piece. So with that, the username will be the student email address. The password will be the #, capital HF, lowercase hf, followed by the student's ID number, no space in between that. So there is a link here, and just so you know, once we post this, we're going to post this PowerPoint as well, so you'll have all the access to all the links as well. So, but this link will take you right to the Naviance link. You'll put in the area code for HF, which is 60422, and then you'll be able to access the Naviance link.
You can also, parents, students, access that link through the main website under the student tab. You'll find a link about 3/4 of the way down the page.
One of the other nice pieces about the Naviance account is the college visits. There's roughly going to be about 100 different colleges that will come and visit HF, whether it's in person or whether it's virtual. There'll be over, like I said, 100 different colleges. So when a student is in their Naviance account, they can go to the college tab, click under college visits, and they'll be able to see a list of all the colleges that have signed up to come visit HF. So this is just a quick link or a quick snapshot of some of the colleges that have signed up. So on Tuesday, September 7th, that's when our wonderful, college visits will begin. So that's when I think Brad and I are pretty much chickens with our heads cut off, running around trying to accommodate the colleges, as well as meeting with families and meeting with students. So this is a quick link for that.
I would just remind students, families that this happens during the school day. Students
Yes.
will have the option when they find a school that they might be interested in learning more about. As it sees on the screen there, there'll be a button for them to go ahead and register for that. Once they click that register button, it will prompt them with a thank you for signing up, a page that will say thank you for signing up. Please print this page as a pass to leave class. It is under the teacher's discretion to allow them to leave, as long as the students aren't abusing the opportunity to leave a class, so to speak. Usually teachers are very good about allowing them to go visit with these college representatives. I would say it's very low pressure, just an opportunity for the students to learn more about that school.
And just a reminder as well, this is a visit for the students, unfortunately not for the parents. So if parents, you can have an access account for Naviance, and then you can also see the college visits. So when you're viewing the college visits, you'll be able to see the list, but you won't have that register button on there. So just so you know for the future. So just to give a little background as well, I think as I've mentioned last year, my son is a senior this year, so I'm going through this process with all of you as well. So at my son's school, they have Naviance as well. So I'm usually jumping on there. I'm looking at the list of schools that are coming to visit, and then I'm kind of nudging him a little bit. Hey, I see this college is coming. You might want to visit with them. So that's what you can do as well from your end. So if you wanted a parent registration, you're more than happy. Reach out to myself or Mr. Kane, and then we can set that up for you. It takes literally 2 seconds.
And just to be clear, you can also use a student account to go in there with their password information. It really
Yes.
doesn't, we will not affect anything that they're doing or we do with them at the school with this program. So when we talk about where to start, I think Naviance is obviously the thing that we use the most in our office. But some of the things that we encourage students to start thinking about are some of the criteria that they might be interested in, or what's important to them as they search for the perfect fit for them. And you see some of those factors on the screen there, things like academic factors. Do they have the things that they are interested in? Are the facilities what they thought they would be, or do they have things that they are interested in? Financial fit is a big thing that Kevin and I talk to students about a lot. Is we all know that sometimes we have our favorites, but if we close our eyes in a perfect world and we could just go there without worrying about finances, that would be great. But we're not able to do that, so we are want to make sure that we're being precise on making the right financial choice as well, and being smart about that decision. And then, of course, we've all heard this, the right fit and the feel that a student has when they are on that campus. And, many times students will come back and say, I didn't always get that. I don't want you to think automatically that will happen with your son or daughter. Sometimes that takes a little bit of time, and it takes a little bit more research to find that right fit. But I can tell you, Kevin and I have been to, I don't know how many, but quite a few colleges and universities over the past 20 years. And I always challenge my students by saying, there really is no bad college out there. Maybe one or two that I can think of that may have been for profit, but the reality of it is that all schools are good for the right student. And I really believe that, that's part of my mission, and I know Kevin's is too, is to help families move through that process to find the one that is good for their student. And what the statistics will show us that the better the fit, the more successful they're going to be there. It's not by the name or by what U.S. News and World Reports claims is the best school. It's really where they feel most comfortable. So that should be the true focus as you move through the next year here. Yeah, sorry, Kevin.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I saw you. Yeah, campus visits. I think parents, it's probably one of the most important things that you can do as you move through this process. There are lots of ways. I understand that we're still coming out of the COVID virus, and in some places are safer than others, making it possible to visit some places and not possible. I would suggest and hope that all of my students, before they make a decision, would visit the schools that they are considering. That would be very important. So that allows you a different timeline and when that visit happens. Maybe it happens now, maybe it happens over Thanksgiving break, maybe it happens as we move it towards that springtime. Those are all perfectly fine places to do it. But just getting there can be so important to help them visually see what's happening on those places. So when you get there, Obviously, touring the campus. I always encourage families to let the admission office know that you're coming, sign up for a campus tour. I call it the paid tour. You know, these are tours. Kevin and I both worked with universities doing this. We trained student workers to take families to very specific places on the campus because that's what we wanted you to see. So it's very important that you do take those tours. But then I also take it a step farther and ask families, spend some extra time on campus. Just taking a look at the places that maybe they didn't take you. So you're seeing what they wanted you to see, and they're seeing what they didn't want you to see to get a really good picture of what that campus looks like. If you're able to do so, I always like to do this. I always introduce myself to students who pass by me on the way to class or wherever they're heading. I introduce myself, let them know who I am as a parent or as a potential future student, letting them know that you're interested in the university, and just a few moments to get their thoughts on things that are happening on campus. So sometimes I have to be very careful what they say, and I don't take everything set in stone. Sometimes you get a crabby student on a bad day, but you do get a much different reflection on what's happening on that class, on that campus. You may want to try to visit a class. This is something you would set up with the admission office or a specific department if you are interested in seeing for example, a nursing class and what that looks like. You do want to make sure, if possible, talk to someone in the admission office. As Kevin mentioned earlier, in our visits, representatives that come to visit are the ones that are reading applications. They're the ones that will know that student from Homewood Flossmoor High School visited first at the high school and then why they were on campus. It can be a very important part for them to get to know a little bit more about the student. And then it's always good, obviously, when the visit is over, just a quick thank you to that person that you met with. This leaves a really good taste in their mouth as, hey, that student from Homewood Flossmoor High School not only came to visit, but they also took time to thank me for a few minutes of my time. These just small things coming from a person who worked in that office can really go a long ways as they look at that application. Again, you're no longer just a student from a random high school, but you're a student from Homewood Flossmoor High School who's taken things a step further than other students may have done.
And I think Brad has made a lot of valid points there. And I was actually talking to a student today and talking about her visit to a campus, and she visited a campus that was a larger campus and then visited a campus that was a smaller campus. And that visit to that smaller campus solidified that she knew she didn't want to go to a smaller campus. So we can't stress how important that visiting that campus is. And as Brad mentioned earlier, just reaching out to the admissions office just to let them know that you're planning on coming for a visit, just to make sure that someone in the admissions office is there in case you have questions or want to talk to them. So let's move on here. All right, so the student checklist, when we're talking about a completed application, what actually makes a completed application? So there's a lot of different things and it depends on the school, but really right now it's a completed application and an application fee. So most students are going to use what's called the Common App, and what the Common App is it's one application, and what that student does is they fill out that one application and then they choose what colleges they want it sent to, as long as those colleges are part of the Common App. So we have videos on that talking about the Common App. We've also talked to the students about the Common App. So as they start to work through that, there will definitely be questions, and we'll definitely be here to answer any questions for them. So there's the Common App, there's a Coalition App, there's the Black Common App, there's the Texas application, there's the California application. There's so many different applications out there. So what application should a student use? And the answer is whatever's best for them. So if they see a lot of college, or if they're looking at a lot of colleges that utilize a Common App, well, then the Common App's probably going to be the best option for them. I have some students who are applying just to Texas schools, so they're going to use the Texas app because that's going to be the app that they'll be using. If they're looking at schools in California, it may be the California app. And then for other schools that may not utilize any of those and may have their own application, that's when you would use their certain application. And it's as easy as going to the college website, and usually on the front page, probably in the right top hand corner, could move around a little bit, but there's an Apply Now button. You click on that and it'll take you right to the application. So that's the piece. That's kind of an easy piece right there. There could be the official ACT, SAT scores. I'll talk about AP in a second, but right now, majority of the colleges are continuing to continuing with the test optional philosophy. And what I've stressed to students and families is what test optional is if a student hasn't taken the test, and I believe a majority of our current seniors have taken the SAT last year. So, but if there's a circumstance where they haven't taken the test or they just haven't done as well as they thought they would do, then they don't need to submit that for review. So colleges will look at just a transcript and possibly an essay, things like that. So, but what I stress to families is when you're doing your research, look at those colleges and see, is it test optional? If so, is it test optional for admissions? Is it test optional for scholarships? Because some schools, it will depend. You might get test optional on the admissions piece, but then to qualify for a merit-based scholarship, you need to submit scores. And it could be, well, it probably won't be vice versa, but there could be other colleges where they say, we're just completely test optional, where admissions purposes as well as scholarship, you don't need to submit those scores. So that's a piece that you want to look at and see if that's going to be a piece of the application. With the AP scores, and Brad, I don't know if this is the same thing that you would say, but I've been telling the students, you don't necessarily need to send your AP scores when you apply. If a college is asking for it, then you send it. But if they're not, what I would do is I would hang on until that student decides where they're going and then send those AP scores at that point, because then you're saving a lot of money. You don't have to send AP scores all over the place.
Traditionally, the AP tests are not part of the application process. They may ask if a student has taken and how many they've taken or AP classes, but traditionally they're not used as part of that decision-making process. After they've been accepted, they would send those scores in, then they would receive the credit that the university would award based on how the student did on those exams.
As I was mentioning earlier, and what Brad and I usually tell, or not usually, we always tell the students is give the schools what they want. So if they're looking for letters of recommendation, possibly a personal statement, then give that to them. But if they're not, then don't send it. That college will reach out and let you know what they need. So teacher letters of recommendation could be one, counselor letter of recommendation. There could possibly be a counselor form that the school counselor will need to fill out. And then if a student is looking at maybe an art major or something like that, there could be supplemental material such as artwork, a writing sample, portfolio, something like that. So with the letters of recommendation, and I think we'll get a little bit deeper into that in a little bit, but just to talk a little bit about that, with the letters of recommendation, make sure, or we try to tell the students that counselors and the teachers give them at least 2 weeks to write that letter of recommendation, and that's at the bare minimum. So I've been telling students, as soon as you know that you need letters of recommendation, reach out to the teachers, reach out to the counselor, and request those that they be written. So then once the time comes and that deadline comes, then you can they can submit those on time. So there's a little bit of a process to that letters of recommendation. If a student is working on the Common App, there's actually videos on our webpage, and we'll show you that before this night is over. And there's a webpage where you can go on and you can look at videos of how to invite the counselor invite the teacher and the counselor to the Common App. So with the Common App, it's a little bit easier. For some of the other colleges, there may be an online, or there may be a link that they may have to send the teacher. There may be possibly the old school way, mailing it in. And if the teacher or the counselor needs to mail that in, then what we instruct the students to do is fill out a self-addressed stamped envelope. And yes, parents, you may have to explain to your student how to fill out a envelope. I had to do that with my son. And then give that to the teacher, and then just say, when you're done writing the letter, if you wouldn't mind putting it in the envelope and sending that out. So just so you know, with the teachers, it's up to their discretion whether they want to give that to the families or not. With the counselors, to protect the integrity of the letter, they will not hand that back to the students or the family. So just so you know that, signature pages, letters of recommendation, they're going to be sent directly out of our office or out of the guidance office, and they will not be handed back to the families. Let's see, moving forward. Okay, so now we get into the wonderful timetable. So with the month of September, right now, what we're coming up on, if a student is still considering taking that ACT or SAT, then this will be the time now. Actually, probably last month would have been time to sign up for it, but there's still time to sign up and register for that, I believe. So as we had talked about, most colleges have continued to remain test optional. So Fair Test, which is the website, that's where you'd be able to go. If you're wondering, hey, is a college that my student is looking at, is it a test optional school? And they'll give you a running list of the schools that are remaining test optional. So that's one piece. The other piece, narrowing down those schools. Typically, Brad and I talk to the students and we tell them no more than 10 schools that you're looking to apply to. And within that list of 10, there could be, your reach schools, what I like to call your target schools. And then I call foundation schools, which are typically your backup schools, but I hate calling them backup schools. Within those 10 schools, you want your student to say, hey, I'm perfectly fine attending school 1 through school 10. I'm perfectly fine. So in case things happen and they can't, what we hate to see is them really put all their eggs in one basket for one school, and then it may not work out. And now they're like, well, I don't really want to attend any of these other schools. So we try to urge students to, hey, create a list of schools that you're perfectly fine attending any of those schools. So 10 schools is a magic number. As you start to apply to more than 10 schools, now you start to look at additional application fees, possible transcript fees, possible test score fees. So those dollars start to add up. Hopefully, your son or daughter has begun filling out applications. Applications for the Common App opened August 1st. And then if they're not open yet, majority of the colleges will open up their applications probably tomorrow. U of I opens their application September 1st, so it starts tomorrow. So they'll begin filling out those applications. All of the applications will be done online now. So that'll definitely be how your student will fill out the application. As we talked about meeting with the college reps, this is going to be a great time to meet with the college reps. Those college reps are not going to be, they're not intimidating. They're here to answer questions. They're probably going to crack some jokes. They're going to try to make the students feel comfortable about their institution. So that's going to be, now it's going to be the time, month of September, October. We'll probably push into November. We may have some in December that are going to be visiting. So that's the time to meet with the college reps. And then obviously also researching those college choices. And when we're talking about those college choices, those schools that they're looking to apply to. In the month of October, that's the wonderful financial aid month. So FAFSA starts, and that's important. That's one of the important dates for all of you. October 1st is going to be the first time that you can file the FAFSA. There's nothing that you can do now unless you want to go on and get your FSA ID. You can go and do that now. Students will need an FSA ID and a parent will need an FSA ID. So that can be started, that can be done now. And then once October 1st hits, then you can file the FAFSA. Hopefully that process will be pretty smooth. It has been pretty smooth for the most part last year. We'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit. But taking the ACT and the SAT again, I think October will probably be the last time before that first application deadline comes to retake either the SAT or the ACT. Then continue to complete applications, turn in necessary supplemental forms to the registrar. Well, actually turn them into the colleges. Our wonderful college night will happen in person this year. That will be October 18th. So that's on a Monday, and that will be from 6:30 to 8. So there'll be additional information that'll be sent out about that. And then continue to meet with the college reps, and if possible, arrange for off-campus tours and visits. With December is probably, that's what I've told students, that's going to be their first deadline. So November 1st, you're going to see your first deadline. And that's going to be for for a majority of students, the early action deadline. There's a couple of deadlines that you want to keep an eye on. There's an early action deadline. There's a early decision deadline. There's a early restrictive early action deadline. There's a number of deadlines that you'll see. The one that you want to keep aware of is the early action deadline. And that's applying early. That's the most seats available at that time. That gives your student the best chance of being admitted into that school. So keep an eye on that. What I've been telling students and families is really backing up that month, going back into October. October 15th should probably be their deadline of when they say, I'm going to get my applications in. That way, if they have any loose ends to tie up, they have a couple of weeks until that November 1st deadline. So October 15th is what we've been telling students. And then continue to meet with college reps, visit campuses if you can, and then the most important is to keep the grades up. All right. You want to take this one, Mr. Kane? Or
Yeah, Kevin, I'm with you. I'm just answering questions on the side as we're rolling here. Okay. Sorry, I know you didn't see that. Let me see here. Deadlines. The counselors are given 10 school days to process out supplemental materials. Really important. We know that counselors, everything is busy right now, especially in the fall as we all transition back after a year of last year. It is really important to give them plenty of time to get that information out in the mail, or out in the mail, or virtually, or electronically, however they do it. What my suggestion, I know Kevin touched on this briefly, would be to go ahead and, if you're looking at college applications right now and you believe that's going to be something that you're going to need those recommendations or any supplemental things, is make sure you're reaching out to them now, asking. We instructed this just the other day when we met with students. Remember, you're asking a teacher or counselor to take care of this for you, and then follow up with the appropriate email or link that the university is asking to get that information to them. Application deadlines, I think this goes without much explanation, but we all know that if you miss a deadline, really there's not a lot of mercy by the colleges. So it's really important to make sure you're meeting those deadlines and making sure that you're getting everything in a timely fashion. A really important point here, we will see a few universities, maybe even a few more, depending on what the year looks like as we roll forward here, with a January 1st deadline. It's important to remember that we do go home for winter break. And that means that everything needs to get to the registrar or to the counselor, however it needs to happen, by Friday, December 10th, in order to get that 10-day of school day to process. So that date will come upon us fast, and it will happen even quicker during that time. We do have some information on deadlines there. I won't go through all those. You can see them on the screen. Kevin and I think any counselor that you speak to anywhere would tell you that how important a deadline like early action is. Remember, early action is just acting early. It's meeting the earliest deadline that the college has. It's not binding. It will not hurt the student in any way. It simply allows them to be first into that applicant pool where the most seats are available. So very important early action, and you'll see a few of those deadlines there. I like to tell my students, Kevin, I'm not sure if you use this or not, I like to give my seniors a kind of a soft deadline of the end of October, right? And so if I can get students working on this through October, I know that if I tell them the end of October, that still gets me to that November 1st deadline. So as families start working on things and you're mapping out what deadlines are, if they have those November 1st, make sure you're giving yourself enough day or two before that deadline to get everything together and make sure that it's sent off in an appropriate time to meet those deadlines. Kevin, I think you have to move the screen there. I don't think can I do that? Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Some really, Kevin talked about a few of these dates, but again, just to show them, we will also do a financial aid night. That evening will be with a representative from Notre Dame's financial aid office. She's worked with the last few years with Kevin to provide information for that night to families. So please mark that on your calendar. More information to come with links as we get nearer to that time. October 1st, very important time for the FAFSA. We would like to see all of our families. If you're not aware of this, the FAFSA is now a state requirement for graduation. It's one of two new graduate, or I guess not new, but two graduation requirements that Kevin and I deal with. One is a student must take an SAT on an all school test date in order to graduate from high school. And number two, they must fill out the FAFSA or sign a waiver that they know what they're not filling out by declining to do that FAFSA. So October 1st, FAFSA opens. We like to see that done as quickly in October as possible. As we move through that month, grant monies and other monies that are attached through the FAFSA can start to run out very quick. So we'd like to see our families, encourage them to get it done as early as possible in October. The NACYAC College Fair, it's probably the biggest college fair in the United States. It's a national fair. They are virtual this year, October 14th. And we'll send out information on that as well. The 100 Black Men College Fair, October 16th, again, done virtually. October 13th, I believe that's all school test day. Is that correct, Mr. Coy?
Yes,
and
that's correct.
On that day, the seniors should be working on applications or taking that a chance to go out and visit a campus if possible. I think one of the great things, and we didn't talk about this earlier, but one of the great things is that we have a large variety of colleges less than 45 minutes away from here, whether it be in the middle of Chicago or even closer to Holman Flossmoor High School. There are plenty of different options there for them to go out and see some of those. I know Kevin mentioned October 18th, the college night at HF, which again, we're hoping that will remain in person. But again, more information to follow as we move forward on that.
For any student that's looking possibly for visual performing arts, there's going to be a national fair for fine arts and STEM that's going to be virtual, and that'll be Tuesday, November 2nd from 3 to 7. So there's information, there'll be information that's sent on that as well. So actually what we did was each student, when the counselors went out to the Viking Compass classes, we passed out a list of important dates, and on those important dates was links for that. Obviously, since they got a hard copy of it, they can't access the link. So we'll show you the important dates. We actually posted it on our webpage. So then you can access that and you can actually access the link as well. So we'll show you that. Now, selecting college and senior transition. So, you know, as you're going through this, as Brad had mentioned earlier, keep an open mind. You know, many of the best schools, quote unquote, best schools for you may be schools you've never heard about. So that's kind of what Brad and we try to go through that, and we try to throw out, okay, you know what, you've got some schools that, yeah, you've heard of those names, but how about some schools that you may not have heard of that may be great options for you? So I know going through my college process, that's how I ended up at the school that I attended. There was a school that actually had been recruiting me for track and football, and I wanted no part of that school. And I had thrown away the letters. And then coach came in and said, hey, why don't you come visit? I went and visited and absolutely fell in love with the school. And as Brad can attest to, I'm a pretty big alum of my college. And I talk about as much as I can. I love it. So, but, you know, if I wouldn't have kept an open mind and looked at the different options available for me, that may not have ended up being where I was. So that's why we talk to the students and the families about just keeping an open mind and looking at, you know, even if a student knows that I want a big school, I went to HF, I want a big school. HF is, yes, a big high school, but it's not the size of what a big college would be. So that's why you keep an open mind. You go and visit, look at some big schools, look at some medium schools, maybe even look at some small schools that may be the size of HF. That way, you know, okay, you know what? I visited a smaller school and I just don't like the feel of it. Okay, that's fine. But you might go visit and might end up liking it. So for the parents, take a deep breath. Your child's dreams for his or her future may be different from yours. So I know each and every one of you probably does not want your son or daughter sitting on their couch, and you want them to move on and have bigger and better things. So, so as they're going through their process, allow them to go through that process. You know, as I talk about it, you know, this is a trip that we're all going on. The student is the driver. The parent is probably in the front seat and the passenger side. Brad and I are sitting in the back seat, trying not to be backseat drivers. But that student is going to lead the way of where they want to go, and we're there to. All of us are going to be in that car to kind of help them move forward and push along, and, you know, make sure they're going on the right track. So just take a breath, allow your child to go through the process, and everything hopefully should fall into place. If it doesn't, then that's where you can step in and put a little pressure on them. So, and then trust, you might not understand or agree with the path your child is taking, but trust that it will end up in a good place. I was actually meeting with a parent this morning, and they were talking about how their older son, decided not to go to college and decided to go to the Navy. And at first that was not an option that they wanted their son to do. But, after, they were going through some things in high school, and after going through Navy, did a complete 180. And it was actually the best move that their son could have done. So sometimes, when you're going through that, again, you have to have those conversations with your son or daughter that may not be the exact, conversation that you want to have, but, hear them out. Hopefully they'll hear you out. And then between that, you guys can come to an agreement. And then the hardest thing will probably be to step back, let go, and just be there. So this is the advice that I give the families that I talk to, and I heard this actually from a college rep who did it with her son as he was going through the college process. This is something I'm going to do with my child. So what we're going to do is we're going to have one day that we are going to sit and talk about college. And on that day, so for us, it's going to be Sunday mornings. So he's going to get up. We're going to have a set plan of, okay, here's what we're going to talk about. We are not going to talk about college any other day but Sunday. So even if I have a question, as hard as it may be for me not to ask a question, I'm not going to ask that question. I'm going to hold it until Sunday. He can ask the question. The student can ask a question anytime they want during that week, but you can't ask that question. So, as you go through that, hopefully what that'll do is that'll take some stress off of a lot of the families. It may get stressful during the week, but, just take time. If you got a question, write that question down, and then whatever day you decide to meet, now you can unload and ask all the questions. So what this does is this puts the onus on your son or daughter, because now they know they have things to do before you guys meet for that day. And if they don't meet the expectations of what needed to be done, well, then you can put some pressure on them. But if they've done what they said they were going to do, now for a parent, you can step back and go, okay, they're in charge of what they need to be doing. So I can trust that they're moving forward and doing the things that they need to do. So just an idea if you want to use that as you're going through. And then, always know that the counselors, the college consultants, that's Brad and I, we call ourselves college counselors, but we'll go through that. The guidance office staff, we're all here to support the seniors and the parents, as they go through this search and selection process. So always know that we're only a phone call away or an email away. Probably the email is probably the best bet for us, I would say right now, especially as crazy as it's going to be. So more than happy. Any questions? I always tell my families, I'm sure Brad does the same thing. Any questions that you have, don't hesitate to reach out and ask us. Even if you think it's a quote unquote dumb question, there are no stupid questions. So just reach out. Some families have never been through this process before. This college process has changed even in the past couple of years. So it's not the same as it was a couple of years ago. So don't hesitate to email one of us. We're more than happy to answer those questions. We're also here to debunk some of those myths. So you may be out and you may hear something that someone says and go, I don't know if that sounds right. Let me reach out to Mr. Corey or Mr. Kane and see if that's right. So you're more than happy to do that with us as well. So, and then of course, stay connected. Follow us on Twitter at HF College Corner. We try to follow the college reps or the colleges and scholarship sites and everything pertaining to college, everything pertaining to post-secondary. So military, we try to keep in line with the workforce as well. So anything that we see that we feel is important or pertinent, we're gonna retweet that. So keep an eye on that. And then also you guys can be the first ones to know that as well if you're following certain places. So with that, I know I was going to talk about, don't forget to visit our college planning consulting page, and I'm going to share that one real quick, hopefully. Let's see. So this is a picture of the college planning or the HF homepage. And then once you so the easiest way, go to quick links, click on college planning. and that will take you to this site.
We don't see what are you trying to share that?
Shoot, can you
Or I
not
don't
see
see,
it?
I'm sorry, I don't see it. I don't know. Hopefully, I don't know.
Okay, let me see if hang on one sec. Let me see if I can stop that share, and then we'll share the screen. Okay, how about now?
Correct. Yes, we're good.
Okay.
It's a little bit small, but yes, it will work. I think it will work.
Hopefully it gets larger. I don't know what the deal is. So if you go to quick links and click on college planning, that'll take you to this page. Down the right-hand side, we have, as we talked about, the important dates for the seniors. So if you click on there, that'll pull up the important dates. We also have an FAQ. So as Brad and I have compiled these different questions over the last 10 years or so, we've put them in one document. If it's the FAQ, so you can click on there. Hopefully a majority of your questions will be answered. If not, again, feel free to reach out to myself or Mr. Kane, and we're more than happy to answer any questions for you. Down this left-hand side here, there's a couple of different links that you can click on. One for the Common App, as we talked about earlier. When you click on there, if it loads, and it might not load. Of course, it's not going to load tonight. So let's talk about scholarships, because that's important as well. So
I had a family ask this question, so that's really good that we're
okay,
here.
great. So let's talk about scholarships, since we can jump on that page. So again, the link is down this left-hand side, but also if you go to quick links and click on scholarship info, that'll take you directly to this scholarship page. And this is the page where we're going to post any scholarships that we receive. So these links that are in the middle here, these are more national based sites. So for example, like FastWeb, scholarships.com, those are going to be sites where you fill out a profile. Based on the profile, you're going to get emailed different scholarships that your son or daughter could apply for. So what's nice about that is, as your son or daughter, or maybe even you, are looking for different scholarships, you've got a site that's also doing searching for you. So that'll kind of take hopefully some of that pressure off of you if you're getting emailed. Now, as Brad and I talk about often, what your son or daughter may want to do, or what you as a family may want to do, is create a separate email account. Because what's going to happen is you're going to get emailed a lot of different scholarship information, but you're going to get a lot of junk email as well. So that way everything can be funneled into this one email account, and you're good from there. So that'll be one place to look. And actually underneath here, the scholarship applications, we just got one in today, a couple in today. So as we get local scholarships, we're going to post them down this site here, or down this right-hand side here. So as you go down, so what I've been telling families is, right now we might get a couple. It's not going to be a ton, so maybe check every month or so. And then once we get closer to the end of the semester, then that's when, and definitely into the second semester, that's when more of these scholarships are going to be coming along. So you can then check probably every couple of weeks or so, and there'll be a long laundry list of scholarships under here once everything's said and done. That last piece that we want to talk about is the foundation scholarships. And this is one that I think Brad takes to heart. He definitely controls this one. So there's nothing, these are scholarships just for the HF students. So there's nothing that anyone can do right now. These scholarships will be available March 21st. Actually, we need to update that.
Yeah.
But it'll open the week before spring break, and it'll be open for 3 weeks. And then students can apply for different scholarships through there. So on the left-hand side here, there's a quick little, what is it, a minute and a half video, Brad?
Yeah, if that, yeah.
So just going over what I just talked about. It's a nice little cartoon video that Brad created that talks about the scholarship information. We also have a scholarship presentation that one of our wonderful alums that also works for ISAC, which handles all the scholarships or financial aid in the state of Illinois. They did a presentation for us last year, so we've got that information there for you as well. So you can click on there, and then if we go back to the front page, there's about a 4-minute video, and it talks about the college application video, and that's a nice video. It's about 4 minutes long, 4 to 5 minutes long. and it goes through the nuts and bolts of the application, what your son or daughter will be looking at as they go through that. There's a common application video, a FAFSA video, and then again, the scholarships video. So these are a couple of quick videos that you can look at down the left-hand side here. And then there's definitely some other resources here. There's one that's a quick reference college sheet. So you can click on there, and what it does, it brings up, let me see if it may open a new window, but let's see. Nope, it doesn't. So this is a quick reference. So if you have, if you've got questions about a college, there's instructions for 4-year, instructions for Prairie State, navigating Naviance, there's links there, the Common App, the Coalition app, transcripts, sending test scores, recommendation letters, and then talking about college visits. So this is a nice little snapshot. So, you know, if you have a question, hey, what about the Common App? You can click right there and that'll take you to a video or some resources about the Common App. So let's see. What else? What else are we missing here?
The only thing I would say is step back 1 second is just those scholarships. That's not to beat them up too much, but parents, families, I can just tell you from, I think Kevin would agree, from our seats, it's something that students don't do. And every year we have scholarships that will be listed on the right-hand side of that screen that the donors will call and say, hey, no one from Homewood Flossmoor High School has applied for these scholarships. So as they populate on that right-hand side, just keep an eye. If you see something that you qualify for, I understand that students will probably push back and not want to write another essay, but really if they do 3 or 4 of these essays, they become quite simple. It's just copy and paste into the next scholarship application. So please encourage them to work on them. It is worth their time. They will not get every one of them. I don't want anybody to think that, but you are more likely to get the scholarship when you actually do the application. So please make sure that you encourage your students to do those.
And I know we talked about the college application video, but, you know, I just want to reiterate, you know, I know Brad and I have thrown a lot of information out to everyone tonight, and I know maybe some people's heads are ringing, but don't jump right away and go, oh my God, I need to meet with the college counselors. Take some time, relax. I would suggest that you go through and just take a look at this college application video. Again, 4 to 5 minutes. It will probably answer a lot of questions for you. Then after that, if you've got questions, not that Mr. Kane or myself don't want to meet with you guys. That's what we love. We're passionate about this, but what we want to do is make sure that we have a more meaningful conversation with you. So some of those more general questions, those are going to be covered in the college application video. Those are going to be covered in probably the FAQs. So then when you sit down and meet with myself or Brad, now we're having a more meaningful conversation that's pertinent just to your son or daughter. So take some time, you know, kind of, I guess, let this, as I like to joke about, let it marinate in your brain a little bit. And then from there, once you're ready to, you've got a list of questions you want to meet with me or Mr. Kane, then you can reach out and you're more than happy, send us an email and we'll set up that appointment for you. So this is the resource that I really want to push and direct families to, because there's a lot of information on here, but I will guarantee you that a majority of your questions will be answered somewhere on this website. So, and if you can't find it, that's where Brad and I are here for, you know, and obviously, like I said, there's going to be definitely some, you know, certain circumstances that you want to sit down and have a conversation with us. And that's what we want to do, is make sure that we have those meaningful conversations with you. So, so that's with that. And then let me jump back. We'll go back to presentation real quick. So from there, that is it. And like I said, we'll post this PowerPoint on the college planning page. So then you'll have access to all these links here. And then other than that, that is pretty much it. So enjoy the journey. We are happy to be here to assist with you, but definitely we are here to answer questions. So if you have any lasting questions, type them in the Q&A. We're more than happy. Now, since we're not presenting, we can actually answer those questions.
I'll just, maybe as they come up, I'll just answer questions instead of having to type these
Yeah,
in here. But the
absolutely.
first question, and I hope that you can see some of the questions that were answered. I think I did a pretty good job of getting through most of those, if not every one of them. For transcript requests via the Common App, does the student pay? So it's a great question. And the answer is no, they don't pay for that transcript. The counselor will upload that transcript. And just for clarification, when you get to the point on the Common App, it will ask for the college counselor, I believe is how it's phrased, or something along those lines. You will use the guidance counselor's information. And the reason for that is there are so many of you, there's only 2 of us here, and there are 8 counselors that are able to split this up much better than we are. So you will add, you not have to worry about sending a transcript if the school is on the Common App. Non-Common App schools, you will be responsible through our Parchment program, which is what we just talked to your students about yesterday. Next question, what about requests via the Black Common App? Are you referring back to transcripts again, I'm assuming? Is that correct? Kevin, yes, if that's my understanding, then again, it's the same procedure as that the counselor would upload that transcript to that site as well. And if we take this a step farther, at some point you may see something called the Coalition app. One more application that's kind of a competitor to the Common App. I don't like to talk about it a lot. We would prefer that you use the Common App if at all possible.
All right. Let's see. I think we got those. Any other questions, concerns? That's what we're here for tonight.
What is the process of submitting SAT scores to school? It's another great question. We do not place SAT scores, ACT scores on transcripts. There's many reasons for that, but we want the onus to fall back on the family so that the school is not responsible for sending one of 3 scores. You will go to the SAT website, log into your College Board account, which all of your students have when they registered for that test last year. They'll have an account. If you are having trouble getting into the account, you'll have to use the password retrieval tool on that website. Kevin or I or any of the counselors do not have access to any of those passwords. So you will log into their College Board account and you will request that ACT, SAT score be sent directly from the testing agency. I'm on the College Board app and signing into the app for the SAT, and it says that my address line doesn't match my previous one, and so does my zip code. Again, I hate to kind of back out of this question, but Kevin and I don't have access to that information. So if you run into a problem, you may have to reach out to College Board. Kevin, would you answer that any differently?
No, that's exactly what I would say. And unfortunately, Brad and I, we aren't the ones who handle the logins. So the students actually created those accounts a while back. So you're going to have to reach out to the College Board, unfortunately. They're pretty easy to work with.
Yeah.
So you can usually get on there pretty quickly. They'll answer the question for you, take care of all your information, and have you set to go. And most of the times what they'll do is they'll keep you on the line to make sure that the account is working and going forward, and then they'll let you go after that. Can students who do not qualify for free lunch receive an application fee waiver? It depends on the family situation. So what the counselors have been instructed to do is if a student or a family is requesting a fee waiver, there needs to be some explanation of the extenuating circumstance, and that needs to be put, actually an email would be perfectly fine. Email the counselor, explain what the extenuating circumstance is, and then the counselor will be able to waive that if they deem it necessary. So what I normally say, I hate to have an application fee deter a student or deter a family from from applying. So, but, on that other side, unfortunately, not everyone is going to take those fee waivers. So for example, any HBCU, or I should say majority of the HBCUs, do not even take fee waivers. So you have to think about that as well. So as you're going through, I think the best thing is to have communication with the counselor and put that whatever extenuating circumstance is in writing, and then that counselor will make that decision at that point.
Next question, why is college visits during the week when kids are in class? And it's a good question. It's been like this for before Kevin and I have done that, and not that's the answer for everything. But in reality of it is these reps are traveling all over. It makes the most sense where they have the most kids in the same place at any one time is when they are in the building. And I know that always doesn't work out for students maybe who are in a class that can't get to that visit. And the representatives understand that. So if your students see something like that happening where they're just not able, the information of that representative is provided on that Naviance program. I would just simply ask the student to reach out with them. Many times the representatives will set up an appointment to meet, especially with the way we've gone virtually. We'll sit down with the student in a time that's more appropriate for them.
Will students get an excuse? Will students get an excused absence to visit a college? Yes, they will. So what we usually tell families to do is when they go and visit the campus, there's usually something where you can get the admissions office to just print that, hey, Joe Smith was visiting our campus on such and such day. Bring that back on the school's letter, on the college's letterhead, turn that into the attendance office, and they'll document that absence. And from my understanding, it will not count towards the 8 absences.
Correct.
And I think you get 3. I think you get 3 of those, if I'm correct.
I thought it was 5, but somewhere around. I would reach out to one of us. We'd be happy to answer that question. Hey, here's the deal. I would fight, and I've said this with principals in our presentations before, and I would say it in front of Dr. Mansfield. I know he would support this as well. If your student is truly going out to look at a college, they're not going to be penalized, at the school. It would be counterintuitive for what we're trying to do and trying to move students into the next position as they leave the HF. So let us know if you run into any troubles with that, and we'd be happy to help you there. Is there a SAT prep class available? There has been available test preps. A family told me the other day that they were told that the test preps are full right now at HF, the ones that are offered in the building. I cannot confirm that. I have not talked directly to the testing center or the testing department. I would encourage anyone, and I'll put this in here, Mr. Dave Cush is the assessment coordinator. And I'll put his email in here as well. And you can go ahead and reach out to him. He will tell you of availability. Hopefully you're able to see that response that I just sent. He would be the one that you want to talk to about that. My student registered for the SAT on College Board, and there was a fee. The test is not free. It is not free if you are not on free and reduced. The only one that is free is the state test that is given to juniors in April of their, of course, junior year. So that one is covered by the state of Illinois, but no, other than that, it's responsibility of the family, unless they fall on a free and reduced lunch or like a situation Kevin had talked about earlier. How do you find out what SAT score your child received when they took the test score? Very simply, you can hop back into their account on College Board, and it should prompt you to look at the test. It should have their SAT, their PSAT scores on there as well. That should be there easily for you to see. How early should you send an SAT score to meet November 1st early deadline? I heard it takes 6 to 8 weeks for the College Board to send. I would say a long time ago when we were sending paper copies, it may have taken a little bit longer. I don't know, Kevin, what would you say? I would say at least a 2-week window to,
I actually usually tell them 4 weeks just to be safe.
2 to 4 weeks. Yeah.
Now, here's the piece that you need to look at as well, is that colleges will be a little bit, depending on the college, actually, they'll be somewhat lenient as, if the score isn't in by November 1st, they may, like U of I think you need to have it in by November 10th or something like that. So they may give a little bit of leeway for that. So, but I would say, 4 weeks just to give it some time.
I was scrambling as Kevin was talking there. Someone was asking, what is the College Board email address? I was scrambling to hop on their website to find what that is. I did not make it there yet. So if you give me a moment, I can post that one. But I see one more comment here that someone was told due to overwhelming demand, which is exactly what I was told. It wasn't being offered. It was full. And they're referring students to Khan Academy. And so Khan Academy, if you're not familiar, connects directly with College Board. And Khan Academy is a free online test prep tutoring website. And so the great thing about it is it will take the students' test scores. It will look at where the weaknesses and strengths were. It will then create a test prep designed specifically for that student. The only downfall I can really see to it is if your student has a hard time sitting down at a computer, which I would be me, and focusing without having someone physically standing in front of them. Other than that, it's a great program. It's been used, they've integrated it tremendously well with College Board. And I would really encourage you, if you can't get there, to use it. There are, without going too far into this, but there are local test prep agencies that you can also search out as well. There are fees that are sometimes quite pricey with that. So I would start with that Khan Academy online if you haven't done so already.
Yeah, I met with a student today, and they said they did the test prep at HF, and then she said, actually, I didn't feel like it helped me much. So she said Khan Academy actually helped her out a ton. And her points, I think she jumped up like 150, 120 points, something like that. So just from working on Khan Academy. So now it all depends on the student. Some students, it'll want to be better than the other. So you just have to try it out and see. But I think Khan Academy is great because it's tailored to the individual student.
To be clear, seniors don't need to attend on all school test day. Correct. They don't. My understanding is in the fall test here, they do not attend school, and there is no test for them to take. They fulfill the requirement with the SAT. So yes, that would be a great day for them to get out and see some of the schools. I would be doing this, setting up visits as soon as possible, because we're not the only school that does all school test day on that day, and students will get the idea that they're going to go out and visit, hopefully. So the earlier the better. Please keep an eye out on some of those college websites, and when they start taking reservations. Some will only take them a month out or something like that. So as soon as possible, I would definitely cap on those websites. My son is graduating, looks like early in December. What are college application deadlines? It does not change. Deadlines are deadlines in terms of the universities. So he'll still need to make sure that he is taking care of what he needs to take if he is planning on attending school in the fall of next year.
Sometimes what students do is if they're graduating in December, they may take a class or two at Prairie State. Perfectly fine. They'll still be considered an incoming first-year student as long as they watch how many credits they're taking. So, and normally students who graduate in December aren't going to take enough credits to be considered a transfer student. So, just want to keep an eye on that. But like Brad had said, it's still going to be if they're moving on to a four-year college after four-year college in the fall, like they normally would if they were staying the entire school year, then all those deadlines still remain the same. What is the process for counselors to send fee waivers through the Common App? Does the counselor only need to send?
Sorry, Kevin.
Just deleted that.
I think you go back to answer.
Yeah, let me see if.
There you go, down the bottom there. Can you see that?
Oh, great. Okay. Nope, I can't.
Go to answered.
Okay, down at the bottom.
Yep.
Okay.
Do the counselors only send fee waivers to Common App at one time, and applies for all the Common App? That is correct, right, Kevin?
So when they do a fee waiver, that fee waiver waives all the applications that are in the Common App.
Yep.
So the counselor only needs to do it once.
Yep. Can I register for the SAT, ACT on Khan Academy instead? Because I just signed on there and I registered for it, but now can I be sure that I did? Can I register for the SAT or ACT? It's very closely related to each other. So they may try to force you to, a quick click on a link may get you registered, but you definitely would know that you registered for either one of them. All I would do is check your email, go back to your email, and it will probably send you a welcome. You've signed up, or if you haven't seen anything in a few minutes, that may be the answer as well.
And the ACT is different. So you actually have to go to act.org because the ACT is separate from the SAT. So the ACT is going to be the ACT, the SAT is through College Board. College Board handles the SAT, AP scores. There's a couple other things that they handle. So
If a student is taking the SAT on October 2nd, the school, I mean, I'm assuming that means the college is not lenient to the 4-week window. What is your advice? If they have that, well, there's lots of ifs here. If the college requires that test score, right? You need to make sure that you have a completed application by the time that deadline comes up. If you do not, they will not review your application and you will miss the deadline. So I guess the way to answer that is if they have a test score and you feel comfortable sending that to them, if they're test optional, go ahead and apply with what you have right now. Then if that score comes back and it is higher or better than the first score, you can always resubmit that to the college. But once you miss the deadline, you're out. So please make sure you make that deadline with the information that you have in front of you at that time.
And there'll always be a portion on the application where it says, you know, what dates are you taking or have taken or will be taking the SAT or ACT. So you can always put, you know, taking October 2nd. The admissions rep will see that, hopefully. But what I would always say is reach out to the admissions rep and just let them know, hey, I'm sending in this score. I'm also retaking it on October 2nd. So that score should be coming shortly. So then they can keep an eye on it.
What if he wants to start in the spring? I'm assuming goes back to that mid-year graduate. Again, he'd still follow the same deadlines that that they would have spring deadlines as well, right? So you will see them. Might have to look just a little bit different because it's not as traditional as many thousands of applications that they're going to get for a fall start, but they still will have spring deadlines as well. And it's just like they have spring start times and spring class begin on certain days. So definitely keep an eye on those deadlines. Pay attention to the card that comes in the mail. Some applications, yes, they do.
Yes.
Anonymous attendee, thank you for that. And here's what is being said there. Sometimes, certain times of the year, and many times, not to go too far, but many times this is when applications are slow for the colleges. They will throw fee waivers out. Sometimes on visit days, fee waivers will be granted, right? Sometimes when college representative visit and a student asks them if fees are waived, sometimes they do that. It never hurts to ask. You will not be penalized for asking. So, but if they tell you no, no is probably the answer. But, again, they want students to apply. So sometimes if they can help students to do that, they will be willing to help there. What should we say in the email when we try to schedule an appointment with one of the college counselors? Hey, Mr. Kane. Hey, Mr. Coy. I was at the presentation. I'd love to sit down with you for a few minutes and just talk about some of the things specifically that I'm interested in to try to move things forward. It's as simple as that. I don't know what more, Kevin, that you would want, but at that point, I would say you've been here tonight with us. You've heard a lot of our messages and a lot of information. And so it possibly could be time to sit down with us. It's very simple. Yep. Just give us a little bit of flexibility. Just please remember that there are only 2 college counselors and there are approximately 700 students. And of course, we know that every student will come to us, but we still keep quite busy. So just be patient with us. I know I try to get back to students within 24 hours, parents, and I think Kevin would agree to that too. So just be patient with that response and we'll get you in as soon as we possibly can. Will the 10-2 SAT taken? That's a great question. And I'm not sure that I can 100% answer that one. Kevin, do you know?
I don't believe it will be. I think their first test that they're going to offer, I thought was in November, but I'm not positive on that. I was actually, as I was looking at that, I was trying to go and find my email to see when they were scheduling or when they were scheduled with that. So worst case scenario, I think if you go on and you put in your zip code, it'll bring up all the schools that will be offering the SAT. So if HF is not in there, then you'll know right away that they're not offering that one. But if I can find that, I'll answer that. I'm looking now as we speak. So I'll try to find that email and get that answer for you.
My daughter would like to retake the SAT. Does she need to register to retake it at the school? After we've done the one back in the junior year, all the testing falls back to the family. So yes, you would need to register to retake it on a Saturday. You could do if there's spots available at HF. If there's not, there are other obviously schools in the area that do offer it as well. if a student took the SAT last year, do they need to take it again? No, you don't need to. If you're happy with the score, completely up with you, up to the family. Now, if it were my child, I would maybe have them take it again if the schools that they were looking at would use it for the admissions process. And the reason for that is, one time taking a test, a student sat down in their junior year, maybe they were nervous, maybe they didn't get a good breakfast, whatever it may be, just to take it a second time to make sure that the scores are somewhat similar. If you have a good day on the second time you took it, that's great. If you had a bad day, you still have the first one. So I would recommend, if it works with the family, to have them take it again. How do we sign up to retake the SAT? College Board website has the information that you need on there, and you should be able to easily navigate that to find the registration process.
Easy.
SAT or SAT, is there a preference, or could you recommend taking both? There really is no preference by college at all. And not to go, as we move later into the evening here, not to go too far into this, but it really became a cost that the state incurred when they were offering the ACT. We used to be an ACT test state. SAT came in when that contract ran out and said, we'll offer it for less. And so that's the only reason we take an SAT over the ACT. Colleges don't care. Some of our students will do better on one than the other. There's really no rhyme or reason usually to that. So if a family said, well, we want to take the other one just to see how it goes, that's fine as well. And you should be able to get a good idea of where they scored a little bit better quite easily.
So I did find an answer to the SAT. We are hosting the October 2nd SAT. So just so families know, looks like we are hosting it.
Kevin, did you talk about a Texas Common App?
Yeah, I mentioned it.
Yeah.
I believe, I don't know if it's necessarily called the Texas Common App. I think it's called Apply Texas, but
Yes.
when you go on to any, and Brad he probably has a better idea about it. He was just out in Texas.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's the Apply Texas app is what it's called.
Yes, it is. Yep. That's their preferred application. It may even be their only application. So when you go to any of those college websites, it would direct you automatically to that spot. Do you recommend submitting SAT score, even if the school is test optional, if your students goes when the previous year's accepted freshman class? Sorry for my mumbling. I'm reading through that. Yes. Falls within the previous year's accepted freshman class range for scores. Yes, it cannot hurt them, right? And so it can only help them in the process. And now, maybe to go a little bit opposite, if it was much below, then maybe you would hold it back and you wouldn't need to send that and you wouldn't be penalized. But if you are into that range, in the middle of that range to the upper end, then yes, absolutely, it will not penalize a student at all for sending it.
And that's actually a great point, because I think that's what Brad and I talk to families about is, looking at that bell curve and seeing where students fall. And if you fall in that middle 50% range, then yes, absolutely send that score in. But a caveat to that is, think about the last couple of years. That bell curve, the only students that are probably sending in those test scores are the students that did well on the test. So you're going to want to go back a couple of years and maybe go before the pandemic happened and see what the average SAT, ACT score is at that point. That'll give you a better snapshot of what the average test score is. If you're looking at like last year's incoming class or the year before that, it's probably going to look a little bit skewed with that. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at those average scores.
What is a pretty good SAT score? That's a good question, and it's a hard question. I can give you, instead of a good score, how would I give the middle kind of average? And that, I just researched it real fast because I didn't know it off the top of my head. It is somewhere around a 1051. So if that's about the middle point, and that would be about the average. So you figure, obviously students above it and below it, but that would put you right in the middle. What does TIR mean? I was on the ACT website and the test will take place at HF High School on December 11th. I'm not sure, Kevin, do you know what TIR stands for?
No, I was just looking that up now. I don't know. So here's what you can do. Just shoot one of us an email and we can look at that a little bit more. Maybe send us a screenshot of where it said TIR, and we can we can maybe look that up for you and get a better answer for you. But right now, I honestly haven't heard of that before.
How do we sign up for the SAT October 2nd? Again, College Board website, you'll register or log into your account and you should be able to sign up for the October test. Do we need to submit the score with the application if you're trying to, prior to the test date? I believe what you're asking is, I mean, it's hard, you wouldn't send them to exactly together, but you would submit the application, and alongside of that, as you're submitting the application, you're also submitting those test scores to that university. Obviously, they're not going to come together, but once they get there, they will get back together again and complete that application.
Yeah, so that's a good point. Your son or daughter, they can take care of their application, submit that, and then later on they could submit the transcript, and then later after that they could submit a test score. It doesn't need to all come in together. Since the ACT will take place at HF, will the test be free or will you need to pay for it? No, that will still be for a price, or still be for a fee. Unfortunately, like Brad said, the only test that is free would be the SAT state test that all the juniors took, or all the students took when they were juniors. So other than that, those SATs and those ACTs that fall on a Saturday, those are known as national testing days. And those are going to be days where, so any other day where you're taking the ACT or the SAT, those tests would have to be paid for. So again, that's why, do some research on it, see if you really need the scores. If you don't worry about it. My son took it twice. We're good with it. We're done. I said, that's fine. We looked at all his schools. They're test optional, so we're not too worried about it. All right. Did you get that College Board email address?
That's what I'm looking for right now. And I clicked on it and it takes me one of their forms that I already have filled out. They do contact form. I have a phone number, I have everything else, but they do not give me. It takes me to a form.
And I'll be honest with the College Board, it might be better just to give them a call, because that way, like I said, they'll keep you online and make sure that the account is working and everything's okay before they let you go.
It kicks me back to that. Yeah, it kicks me back to that phone number. I can give a phone number, which and they will answer in the evenings as well. It's not like they're just there in the morning. That was my understanding, that they maybe, unless they change something here. I will post this here. Actually, I'll do two things. I will post the phone number. And I will provide the link to the form where you can contact them via email. And I lost it. Let's see. I'm just going to drop it here. Here is the link to that form.
Where'd you post it at?
I tried dropping it back in there. I don't know another way to. Thank you for me. You're welcome. And thank you all for attending. Here, I'll post that previous question one more time. Well, maybe I won't. I'm having trouble. We doing good the whole night, and now I just hit a snag.
That's because it's getting late.
Maybe. Oh, here we go. There's that link. Naviance is simply a program that we use at the school. We pay for a subscription to Naviance, and does many things like career planning, interest inventories, but Kevin and I use it. There's a very large component for the college planning piece. There's actually a college search that starts with, I don't know, somewhere over 7,000 colleges and universities on there. As you answer questions, it narrows things down for you. Our rep visits, calendar of rep visits are on there. So students can sign up for those as well. So those are just a few of the primary things that we're using it for.
Let's see. I don't know. Trying to find where you posted that.
I just posted it again to that person that asked it again.
Okay. All right. Great.
So they should see that, and please let me know, whoever that was, that will you email parents your slides or post them? We'll post them on the college planning website.
Yeah.
Yes, you will find them there. Just give, like Kevin mentioned at the beginning, if you could just give us a few days to get things straightened out on them with closed captioning, as much as we've talked tonight. It might take them a little bit of time, but I would hope by, maybe the end of this week, beginning of next week, that they should be available. But don't hold us to Friday. So just be patient with that with us.
Actually, the slides should be pretty easy to post, so I'll get those posted quickly. So
okay.
It's just the video that Brad's referring to that may take a little time. So
sorry, thank you.
Yes, I'll get those slides posted so everybody has access to those.
Teachers wouldn't, it just depends on what that application is looking like. So if the application has begun and it's open, and they can start sending those, right? It won't hurt anything. Ideally, it'd be nice to have an application completed but it doesn't really matter, because what will happen is anytime something is submitted on behalf of the student, they go into a holding pattern, and then they're connected with other items as they come into the school there. So it will not hurt them. I would just encourage and remind you that make sure that the school is requiring that before you go asking your teachers. You just don't want to have them working on something that wouldn't be useful. So please do your research and make sure that that's appropriate.
All right. Any other questions before we end the night? Do you have any advice for students that would like to receive a recommendation letter from a particular teacher? My advice, our advice, the office's advice is always reach out to that teacher. I would probably, if they can meet with them face to face, probably be good. If not, an email is perfectly fine. But when they do send that email, there's a teacher recommendation form that's actually, there's a couple of places that you can find it. There's a hard copy in the guidance office. It's posted on our college planning page. It's also posted on the counselor's Google page. So that would be a great, what I tell students to do is fill out that teacher recommendation form for the teachers, attach it to the email, and then shoot that over to the teacher. And what that does, that gives the teacher a little bit more information to write a more personalized letter of recommendation for the student. So other than that, if they have, it's not required, but if they have a resume that they've put together, that might be okay to email the teacher as well. As much information as you can give the teacher, the better off that letter is going to be. All right.
I don't see any other questions. And I know we had a lot of questions, and like Kevin mentioned, I'm sure that there are still a lot of questions out there. We are here to help you. If you can't tell, we are both very passionate and enjoy talking about this. So please feel free to reach out to us with any questions or any concerns that come up. Please encourage your students to reach out to us and the counselors as well. uh, as I mentioned, maybe we didn't mention, the counselors also have different specialties in the office. They're able to answer a lot of these questions as well, but we get down to the nuts and bolts of things. Kevin and I would be happy to help you.
Absolutely. So thank you all very much for coming out. It was great attendance, great questions I asked, and definitely, as Brad said, we're here to help. So as you have questions that come along, don't hesitate to reach out and let us know. So other than that, thank you all very much. Have a wonderful night and good luck in this college planning process.
Thank you all
Talk
for
to you
attending.
soon.
Thank you again for attending.